survives all the same, or rather, the Hellfire Gala does. That's right, everyone. 2022, the Hellfire Gala is upon us once again, and I am going to be reviewing this entire affair. So if you intend to read this yourself, you're going to subject yourself to this book, then spoiler alert now, come back after you've read it. The video will be waiting here, but we're going to be going into the details of this book and its several variant covers. So if you're still here, let's get on with the review. So one positive about this is that rather than being a bloated 16-issue mega crossover summer event, this year the Hellfire Gala is compacted to one horrible book. So, yeah, that's at least an improvement. And so we don't have quite the cast. We don't have all those fun-sized stories of what are you going to wear to the mutant prom? Am I going to get to the dance on time? Who am I going to hook up with? Who did I see hook up? All that stuff's not there. This is really just focusing on Cyclops and Emma Frost are the main two POV characters of this storyline, which is good. It actually makes it a lot more coherent, and I'm actually able to somewhat follow what's going on, kind of. We'll get into that in a little bit. So Emma Frost storyline, she's basically kind of making the rounds around the Hellfire Club or Hellfire Gala. I'm going to probably say Hellfire Club more than once. But she's making her rounds around the gala, and she's talking to the celebrity guests, and she's talking about the other Marvel characters that have shown up. And yes, the stupid celebrity guests are still there, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But anyway, while she's making the rounds, she comes across Captain America, who's dressed like a red, white, and blue pimp. And Captain America tells her this story about how he first encountered Rogue and she was a villain, but he respected her even then on the battlefield. And eventually she became an ally and even an Avenger. And that story kind of comes into play when we find out who wins the fan vote for the new X-Men. So the other major character that she talks to is Tony Stark. So Iron Man starts out the book. He's not going to go to the Hellfire Gala, probably because one of his best friends was, strangled to death at the last one. So why show up to the second party? But he reads in the paper that the Hellfire Gala is being held on the same day that the world is finding out about the mutant resurrection. You see, for those who aren't following the X-Men books, Cyclops let out the secret of the resurrection, the immortal mutants there on Krakoa and how it's done. He told Ben Urich about it because the villain group Orchis was going to expose them. And they were trying to set the X-Men up to lie about it, to basically deny it. And then Orchis was going to bring up the bombshell proof that it's true and discredit the mutants on the world stage. But Cyclops didn't fall for the trap. He went ahead and just came clean about it to the world. And really a lot of the characters at the party are kind of mad at Cyclops for that. But this intrigued Tony enough to want to go to the party and investigate a little bit. So he puts on like a holographic tuxedo and he goes, and there's an interesting moment with him and Reed Richards where Reed Richards tells Tony about how a few years ago during the big X-Men Fantastic Four crossover, Xavier and Magneto showed up at the Baxter Building and took information out of Reed's mind about his technology to mask the mutant gene, which they found as a threat. And they left him with the memory of them doing it so that they would know, had he pursued this line of research again, that they would just come and do it again. So now Tony is obviously suspicious. Well, if they're just running around erasing memories, how do I know they haven't done that to me? Or how do I know they haven't done that to my friends? So that's kind of the angle that Iron Man has throughout the party. And he confronts Emma with this information. There's no real resolution to it. It's just something that happens. It's kind of what passes for intrigue in this book. The other kind of little making the round stories with Cyclops, and really the only impact he has until he gets to Emma is with Forge. And he has a conversation with Forge because he knows that Forge is working on some kind of secret project called Project Black Book for the Quiet Council and Professor Xavier. And he wants to know more about it, but Forge won't tell him because he's not a member of the Quiet Council. And he's upset that Cyclops spilled the beans about the mutant resurrection, and because he doesn't know the circumstances why, so he doesn't want to talk to him. And then that brings us to time to vote for the new X-Men, like we did in the last Hellfire Gala, except this time the Scarlet Witch is going to preside over the election. They say it's because of a sign of unity, but is it though? Is it a sign of unity, or is it a sign of, hey, sorry you got choked out at our last party, thanks for being such a good sport and coming back type of a thing? But anyway, so she presides over the vote. Turns out the winner of the fan vote who ended up in the storyline, is nominated by Emma Frost because of the story that Steve Rogers had told her about taking an enemy and turning her into a friend, is Firestar. So Firestar is now a member of the X-Men. The rest of the team to round them out, Cinch, Cyclops, and Jean Grey are going to stay. They're going to be joined by Firestar, obviously, Iceman, Magic, and Havoc and Forge. And Forge, Cyclops and Forge just had a falling out. Right as Forge's name is announced, he does a little telepathic back and forth with Charles Xavier. Is this going to affect your work on Project Black Book? And Forge just responds, no, I'm just going to get myself kicked off the team. So imagine he's going to be a problem for the X-Men going forward, I guess, if you care to read their book. So, finally, Scott and Emma get to meet up. Emma's been avoiding him the whole night because she's upset that he ruined her party, because that morning as the news breaks that Cyclops told the world about the mutant resurrection, but he really wants to talk to her and tell her why. So he finally gets her to dance with him, and during the dance they have this telepathic back and forth where he basically comes clean with what's been going on with the X-Men for the past year, talks to her about Orcus, what he knew, that Mr. Sinister is the one that Mr. Sinister on Krakoa is actually a clone. The original Sinister is working for Orcus. And there's enemies closing in on all sides. And so Emma, because Scott shared his secret with her, shares what she knows with him, which is at the end of the Inferno storyline last year, Xavier and Magneto spilled the beans to Emma that Moira McTaggart is really Moira X. She is a mutant that's been hiding it all these years, and she's been using her mutant power of resurrection to manipulate timelines, and that's how we got into this whole mess that is the Krakoan era. So now Cyclops is aware of it as well, and he doesn't know what to do with that information. Even when Jean comes and asks him about it, he says he needs a minute to process what he just found out. So speaking of Moira McTaggart, remember when Moira kidnapped Mary Jane and during the new comic book day or free comic book day event? Yeah, that storyline's kind of there. So Moira has Mary Jane captive, and she removes one of her arms and kind of makes it like a little necklace that Mary Jane wears so that she can attend the party, and that Moira is operating her as a kind of remote control through the necklace. And it's just kind of this thing that's going on in the background. The only real impact it has is she has kind of a moment with Proteus, her son, where she's really just kind of cruel to him. I don't understand why she even pulled him aside other than just to insult him, and I still don't understand the turn in Moira's character. But anyway, that little event gets broken up by Spider-Man. Moira opens up a portal, and Spider-Man and Wolverine chase her through the portal, and that's it for that. To be continued in Amazing Spider-Man number 9, and sit tight for that, because last I checked, Amazing Spider-Man number 5 just came out. So we got a little ways around that, and can we take a minute and talk about Spider-Man's costume? So he's going to be going through this event where he's going to be using some Green Goblin technology because Norman Osborn's helping him out. Look at that stupid green glowing spider and this green glowing eyes. It has nothing to do with the review. I just hate it. I hate it so much. But anyway, so that's it for that. That was a big waste of time, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So that's kind of it. That's basically the dumb as a bag of hammers plot of X-Men Hellfire Gala. What do we think of this? How do I even review such an assault on all five senses? Well, let's try to talk about this whole Moira McTaggart situation. So obviously this was something that was put in the Free Comic Book Day solicit just to get people who picked that book up to buy this stupid Hellfire Gala book. It really didn't have anything to do with the story. It didn't affect any of the main things going on, as the gala was mostly just there to set things up for the future of the X books. There's just a random Spider-Man tie-in. I don't know why it's there. Then you have this weird storyline with the Five. So at the beginning of the book, the secret of the resurrection is let out and everybody's talking about it, and Bishop, who's kind of like head of security on the island, recommends to the Quiet Council that the Five not attend the party and they instead be sequestered in their like hidey hole bunker in the island, because there's going to be too many guests there, too hard to control, and you can't afford to have anything happen to any member of the Five because that would compromise the resurrection protocol. So and to ensure this, the Quiet Council agrees, and they put Magic in charge of keeping them down in the basement. And then like 5 minutes later, they just walk into the party like nothing's there, and Bishop asks Magic about it, and she's like, oh well, they said they wanted to go, so what was I going to do? Last I checked, you were Illyana Rasputin, like one of the most powerful X-Men, wielder of the Soul Sword, and with demon blood pumping through your veins, and you can't stop 5 teenagers who want to go to a party? I really fear for the efficacy of this X-Men team going forward with you as one of their hitters. And then the other thing I didn't like about this book is it just had to indulge in the just cringy garishness of the first Hellfire Gala. You have the stupid celebrity cameos, the dumb, pointless cameos by comic book creators. Like there's a scene where one of the writers at Marvel rather, comes into the party with Gwenpool, and he like turns to her and says, "Oh well, I told you I could get you into this party." And it kind of had a weird Harvey Weinstein vibe, because what did Gwenpool have to do to get put into the book? So I don't know. I didn't think that fired on all cylinders. Then you have the other problem of everyone at the Hellfire Gala either looks like a ridiculous parody of themselves or a background dancer from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's just stupid. I know that they're trying to be at the Met Gala, and at the Met Gala people come dressed ridiculously, and they're just trying to recreate it. But I mean, we really just don't need it. It's just stupid. I mean, comic book characters already look outlandish as it is. We don't need to dial it up to 11 just because you want to have Mutant Homecoming. So then I feel like I have to talk about the art. And I usually don't like to criticize artists in comics because, artist objective, everyone does their thing. But this book was written by one guy with a bevy of artists. And honestly, flipping through this book, I couldn't tell you where one artist ended and another began. And I understand that it's good to take artists with similar styles and put them on a book like this if you're going to do something like that, because it keeps the reader immersed in the storyline. But at the same time, in this case, it just kind of illustrates how utilitarian this house style for Marvel has become with their new creators, where all the art is very similar and it's very simple, very under-detailed, under-rendered. I mean, it's fine, it's passable, it does its job, it tells the story, but everything just looks kind of flat and uninspired. There's nothing dynamic, nothing that draws my eye to it and really makes me in awe of the artwork that I'm seeing. And it reminded me back my days looking at How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which I still, by the way, think is one of the best art books ever written. But there is a little section in here, and I wanted to put it on here because I think every new creator at Marvel needs to be told this. So it shows a demonstration of 2 pages. A page on the left, which is done in what I would describe as the new current Marvel utilitarian style. It's very simple. It's very flat. It tells the story well enough, but there's no action to it. There's no sense of anything to it, nothing to draw the eye. And then if you look at the other page, the page on your right, it shows the same sequence of events, the same panel layouts, but everything, camera angles change, body language is more extreme, people are getting a little closer to each other. We go from a worm's eye or a bird's eye view of the man smoking the cigar. We've got that close-up of the cigar in the hand as Ben Urich is leaving the office, and it just shows the difference of how you choose to lay out a page and how you choose to use your artwork to be more enticing and more appealing to the eye that's watching it. Otherwise, you're just moving the words across the page, and anyone can, any artist worth their salt can do that. I don't know. This is a gripe that I have with Marvel these days. I think I would like to see a lot more emphasis on dynamic and visual storytelling over the writing be put into the books. So what do I think of the Hellfire Gala overall? I mean, there's some good to be had here. One, it's one book versus the giant crossover event, which is a lot better. It focuses on a much smaller core cast of characters, primarily just Emma Frost and Cyclops, with little bits from other people in there. That's good, and it does tell a more coherent story, and at least has something going on with the kind of the round the room intrigue, which I found a little bit interesting. But because nothing was really resolved in this book, and there are so many X books, and I don't know anybody who can possibly afford to read them all every month. Who knows when or where any of these plot lines are going to find themselves resolved. The writing, it's fine, being that there's nothing that really happens in this book other than the announcement of the new XMen, and the fact that Cyclops is given an important bit of information. That's all there is. Nothing is resolved. There's no conclusion. There's no satisfying ending for me to glom onto to say whether it was effective or not. So it was just kind of there. It just kind of happened. And that's just part and parcel for this era of the X-Men right now. I mean, you have this stupid Krakoan era where they live on this dumb island and all the backgrounds look like it's something from an alien movie. And the villains and heroes are all just living together in this communal harmony. They're terraforming Mars. We don't even really know why. or I guess we do. It's just to make that the new mutant world, and Earth is just kind of going to be the backup. I don't know. This series is going into so many different directions, and the Hellfire Gala is just a big waste of time. Everything that happened in this book could have been done in a more concise way in the pages of the other books. I mean, you look at the example of the 5 showing up to the party after they were told not to. Really, that has nothing to do with the storyline. All it did was eat up 7 pages of this book. And that's all that it did. So, and all of this book did was eat up 15 minutes of my life reading the damn thing and then coming up here and doing a rant talking about how much I disliked it. I still say the Hellfire Gala is pointless. I thought it was pointless last year. I think it's even more pointless this year. I really hope we don't go back for a 2023 Hellfire Gala. The one thing that I will say that's kind of interesting is it almost seems like they stumbled into an interesting storytelling tool where you have the X-Men. They do a year's worth of a storyline. It resolves at issue 12, and then the team kind of resets with a few new members and goes into a new year of storytelling. It's actually a pretty clean way to tell X-Men stories. You're not going to have as much canon getting in the way, but I don't know. I don't know that the creative teams that they have are clever enough to use that storytelling device to its full potential. So as neat as I think that is, I don't think it's going to result in anything good. So do I recommend the Hellfire Gala? Hell no. This book was a terrible, terrible vanity project waste of time. So pass it by on the shelves. I've given you everything interesting that happens in it. If you want to know what happened to Mary Jane, we're going to have to wait till Spider-Man shows up in that stupid glowing green costume to figure that out. In the meantime, I'm going to leave it there. So obviously, do all the YouTube things. Please like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. Share this video with your friends. And let's talk in the comments. Did you read the Hellfire Gala? Do you plan to read it? If you did read it, did you enjoy it? If you enjoyed it, what's wrong with you? I'm kidding. It's all subjective. If you liked it, then good for you. But let's talk about it in the comments below, and I will talk to you in the next video. See you then. Bye.